So hello friends, welcome back. So we have covered majority of practice areas of Cmmi. Now quickly we'll glance through the process asset development called PAD is practice area. Helps in develop and keep updated the process assets necessary to perform the work. It provides a capability to understand and repeat the successful performance. So here process assets will be developed, process will be defined and stored at the organization repository, tailoring will be done, learning and process improvement will be stored and like that, and we will sharing the best practices and lesson learned across the organization. Level 1 talks about develop process asset to perform the work. So we have work instruction, we have process description, we have templates. 2.1 talks about determine what process assets will be needed to perform the work. This avoid the waste by focusing on the resources only on the process asset needed to perform the work. So here also forms, template, tools and everything will get developed. Now 2.2 talks about develop, buy or reuse the process asset. So whatever process assets we are going to develop, we need to decide whether we are going to build it in house, we are going to buy it from outside, or we have to reuse it. 2.3 talks about make processes and assets available for the uses. So it will be stored at the central place and it will be communicated across the organization that these are the forms, templates, guidelines, lesson learned, best practices available at the central repository. 3.1 talks about the develop and keep updated and follow a strategy for building and updating the process asset. So here a strategy will be developed and on the building and updating the process asset and architecture will be decided of the processes. 3.2 talks about develop, record and update, keep updated a process architecture that describes the structure of the organizational process assets. So how the architecture will look like, how the processor will get interlinked, structural architect, content architect, all these things will be covered as a part of this particular uh, practice area or process area. While writing the process, the team will follow entry, input, exit criteria, and all that type of framework. It will have the flow chart, it will have workflow diagram, process modeling tools, context diagram, value chain type, and all these things. 3.3 talks about develop, keep updated, and make processes asset available for the use. So by providing access to the people across the organization, by storing it at a central place, all these things will get done as a part of this particular practice area. So here processes assets available through variety of media including documents and records, app, website, videos and training material, scripted automation tool, intranet and other electronic medium. All these things will be done. 3.4 talks about develop, keep updated and use tailoring criteria and guideline for the set of standard processes. So sometimes the standard process has to be tweaked as per the domain of the project, nature of the customer, requirements, technical difficulties of the work, experience of the people working on the project. So as per that process has to be tailored, process has to be changed as per the project requirement. So this is also one of the practice area which talks about tweaking of the processes, tailoring of processes. 3.5 talks about develop, keep updated and make the organization process asset library available for the use. So this talks about the organizational library where we are going to store, how the retrieval of assets will be done and all these things. 3.6 is develop, keep updated and make the work environment standard available for the use. So what work environment we are going to use, workstation, tools and everything will be defined and stored at the central place. 3.7 talks about develop, keep updated and make organizational measurement analysis standard available for the use. So whatever metrics guideline we have defined, metrics framework we have defined, the organization measurement analysis standard we have defined, all these things will get stored as a part of the organizational repository. Next is about process management, how we are going to manage the process. So this talks about, so I'll just scan through quickly how the process management will be done, how the improvement, how what support structure we need for that. Then it talks about the training, funding, support, process improvement activity. It talks about appraisal or audit of the current processes to identify strength and weaknesses. Then the appraisal will be conducted against some reference model like Cmmi, ISO and other standard, and then regulatory requirements. All these things will get covered as a part of the assessment. The gap assessment will be conducted, gap analysis, review, benchmarking activities, and all these things will be done. And then the rating will be provided, ranking will be provided, appraisal will be conducted. All these things will be done as a part of this particular practice area. 1.3 talks about address the improvement opportunities. So if there are some improvement opportunity as a outcome of the appraisal and audit we have gone through, that improvement opportunity will be identified and actions will be taken. Identify the improvement to the process and process asset. This is at level 2. So during the appraisal, we will get a report that these are the practices and areas where we need to focus more, so that improvement activities will be planned as a part of this particular practice area. 2.2 talks about develop, keep updated and follow the plan for implementing the selected process improvements. So whatever process improvements are being identified, those will be planned, piloted, then we will track their expected results, actual results, and full-fledged deployment will be done after the pilot is successful, and after deployment we will conduct the evaluation also. We will get the feedback, lesson learned through the continuous monitoring of the processes. 3.1 talks about develop, keep updated, and use the process improvement objective traceable to the business objective. So, whatever improvements we are going to plan, that has to map to the business objective of the organization. 3.2 talks about the identify processes that are the largest contributor to meeting the business objective. So, we need to identify the process like customer satisfaction survey project process, or your project monitoring and control process. All these things are being covered as a part of this process in practice area. So there all the planning and everything will be done. 3.3 talks about the explore and evaluate the potential new processes, techniques, method, tools to identify the improvement opportunities. So here we will talk about the new process improvement based on the processes, based on the technology, then when to pilot it, when to plan, all these things will get covered as a part of this. Then which technique we are going to use, which method we are going to use, which process framework we are going to use, object how the objective evaluation will be done, then the potential improvement opportunity, we talk about new ideas, innovation, then the explanation of the idea, then its potential impact on the business objective, cost benefit analysis, all these things will be done. 3.4 talks about provide support for implementing, deployment, and sustaining the process improvement. So here we need to implement it, we need to deploy and ensure that it's being sustained. So for sustenance, we have to have the support provided in form of coaching, training, and all these things have to be done. So it requires a sustained effort, and at the same time the continuous communication, newsletter, webinar, feedback, everything will be done to ensure that it's being deployed across the organization. 3.5 talks about the deployment of organizational standard processes and assets. So here also the process has to be deployed in a structured and systematic way, and is a part of the outcome of this particular practice. Deployment status report will be published, that which will have the details of description of the improvement, deployment, progress, and everything. 3.6 talks about the evaluation of the effectiveness of the deployed improvement in achieving the process improvement objectives. How effective that particular deployment is, whether we have achieved the required objective and target or not, what are the value add, what are the benefits, and all these things. 4.1 talks about again the statistical and quantitative techniques to validate that selected process improvements against the proposed improvement expectation, business objective, or quality and the process performance objective, that increases the success rate for the performance improvement implementation. So here we are going to roll out the implementation using the statistical tools, techniques, quantitative techniques, how the piloting will be done, how the process variation, stability analysis, modeling, simulation, all these things will be done. If pilot is successful, what is the success criteria? We need to review the validation plan. All these things will be done as a part of this particular practice 4.1. So this is something was related to the our process management. We'll stop here, and we'll continue with our next